waiting forever to hear. Asterisk, asterisk, I love you too. Asterisk, asterisk, and Debbie absolutely melted. She immediately started believing that this was proof that Miato was genuine, that their relationship was finally solid, and that their wedding was meant to happen. But here's the problem. Asterisk, asterisk. Their wedding is literally tomorrow. Asterisk, asterisk. And while Debbie is floating around believing she's finally found the love of her life, her friends aren't invited, her son may not even be able to attend, and there are still plenty of questions surrounding this relationship. So is this finally Debbie's happily ever after? Or did 3 little words make her forget every single red flag that came before them? Because honestly, asterisk, asterisk, I love you sounds beautiful. But does it actually fix anything? Asterisk, asterisk. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another asterisk, asterisk, 90-day fiancé, asterisk, asterisk reaction. And we're starting with Debbie and Miato because these two are moving toward marriage at lightning speed. The latest development is actually kind of fascinating because Debbie and Miato go on a cooking date together. Now, you'd think a cooking class would be a cute romantic activity. Instead, it turns into another conversation about their relationship and household responsibilities. Debbie is trying to get Mido to understand that since she's working, she would appreciate it if he contributed more around the house. She's basically hinting, asterisk, asterisk, you could cook while I'm at work. Asterisk, asterisk. And Miato immediately gives her that look. He's basically like, asterisk, asterisk, maybe I should just return to Egypt. Asterisk, asterisk, sir, we're peeling shrimp. How did we get from cooking seafood to international relocation? The chef is standing there listening to all of this relationship drama, and I'm sure he's wondering how he accidentally became a couples therapist. But eventually the cooking is finished. They sit down together and have their meal. And this is where everything changes. Miato is quiet. Debbie wants reassurance. She keeps asking if he's happy, if he enjoyed the date, and whether everything is okay. And you can tell that Debbie doesn't simply want an answer. She wants emotional confirmation. She wants to hear that Miato is happy with her. She wants to know that he's committed. And then she finally says it. Asterisk, asterisk, I love you so much. Asterisk, asterisk. And Miato looks at her and responds, asterisk, asterisk, I love you too. Asterisk, asterisk. And Debbie's entire face changes. You can practically see the relief. This is the moment she has been waiting for. After all the tension and uncertainty, she finally hears the words directly from him. And immediately, Debbie feels like everything has fallen into place. She believes the way he looks at her proves he's being authentic. She believes the way he kisses her hand proves he's emotionally invested. And suddenly, all of the previous problems seem much smaller. The next morning, Miato is even in the kitchen making a smoothie. Okay, technically the smoothie is for himself, but Debbie is impressed anyway. She's looking at him like, asterisk, asterisk. Wow, he's changing. Asterisk, asterisk. And then Miato casually reminds her, asterisk, asterisk. The wedding is tomorrow. Asterisk, asterisk. Tomorrow? Debbie is basically like, wait a minute, we're getting married that soon? And that's when the reality of this situation really starts to sink in. Debbie decides to meet up with her best friends. And these aren't exactly people who are thrilled about her relationship with Miato. Remember, the last time her friends saw him, things got extremely heated. There was a huge confrontation. They didn't trust him. They had concerns about Debbie's relationship. And they probably expected Debbie to eventually see things from their perspective. But Debbie has a completely different message for them. She shows them the ring. And then she tells them, asterisk, asterisk, I'm getting married tomorrow. Asterisk, asterisk. The reaction? Complete shock. They're basically thinking, asterisk, asterisk, tomorrow? After everything? Asterisk, asterisk. But Debbie explains that things have been completely different since the previous confrontation. According to her, they haven't been fighting. They haven't been arguing. Everything has been smooth. And most importantly, Asterisk, asterisk, Miato finally told her he loves her. Asterisk, asterisk to Debbie. That's huge. But here's where things get awkward. Her friends ask about the wedding, and then they realize, asterisk, asterisk, they're not invited. Asterisk, asterisk, wait. What? Your best friends aren't invited to your wedding? Debbie explains that the wedding is going to be extremely small, just immediate family. And honestly, her friends seem to understand exactly what's happening. They know Mido doesn't want them there. They know the previous confrontation changed everything. And they also know Debbie has already made up her mind. So instead of wasting their breath trying to convince her not to marry him, they basically accept the situation. But then Debbie gets another problem. Her son Kaden receives a message from his boss. He may have to work on the day of the wedding, and Debbie completely panics because this is not just some random guest. This is her son. And Debbie doesn't want to walk down the aisle without him. She basically says, asterisk, asterisk, if Kaden cannot be at my wedding, I don't see a wedding. Asterisk, asterisk. And honestly, this is where I have to give Debbie some credit. Because regardless of what anyone thinks about Mido, it's clear that her son is incredibly important to her. She wants him there. She wants his support. And she doesn't want to celebrate this major life event without him. But now we have a very interesting situation. Debbie has spent so much time trying to prove that Miato is the right man for her. And now her wedding may depend on whether her son can actually show up. Let's talk about that asterisk, asterisk, I love you, asterisk, asterisk moment. Because I think this is the most important part of the entire storyline. Debbie has clearly been waiting for those words. And when she finally hears them, she doesn't just hear asterisk, asterisk, I love you. Asterisk, asterisk, she hears asterisk, asterisk, all of your doubts were wrong. Asterisk, asterisk, she hears asterisk, asterisk, your friends were wrong. Asterisk, asterisk, she hears asterisk, asterisk, this relationship is real. Asterisk, asterisk. And that's where I think Debbie needs to be careful, because somebody saying I love you is wonderful. Of course it is. But love isn't just a sentence. Love is behavior. Love is consistency. Love is communication. Love is compromise. Love is respecting each other's needs. And these two still have a lot to figure out. They've already disagreed over household responsibilities. They've had conflict involving Debbie's friends. They've had emotional misunderstandings. And now they're going from all of that straight into marriage. That's a gigantic step. And I don't think 3 words should magically erase every concern that existed before. I'm not saying Miato doesn't love Debbie. We don't know what's inside his heart. And that's exactly why I don't want to automatically say he's using her or that he's being dishonest. But I do think Debbie is putting an enormous amount of emotional weight on this one moment because she wanted to hear those words so badly. And now that she finally has them, she seems ready to believe everything is perfect. But relationships aren't tested when everything feels romantic. They're tested when things get difficult. And believe me, these two are going to have difficult moments. I also want to talk about Debbie's friends, because I know a lot of viewers are probably frustrated with them. But let's look at their perspective. They've watched Debbie fall deeply into this relationship. They've already met Miato. They've already had a major confrontation. And from what we've seen, they don't trust the situation. So when Debbie announces, asterisk, asterisk, I'm getting married tomorrow, asterisk, asterisk, they're shocked. But they don't launch into another argument. Why? Because they probably realize there's nothing they can say. Debbie is going to make her own decision. And honestly, sometimes that's all you can do. You can warn somebody, you can express your concerns, you can tell them what you see, but ultimately, adults make their own choices. If Debbie wants to marry Mido, she's going to marry him. And that's why the friends basically accept it. But the fact that they're not invited is still pretty telling. Because weddings are usually about bringing the people closest to you together. Yet Debbie is entering this marriage with some of the people closest to her standing on the outside. That doesn't necessarily mean the marriage is doomed, but it definitely tells us there are unresolved tensions. And those tensions aren't going to disappear just because Debbie gets married. Then we get to Kaden. And this is where the emotional stakes become much higher. Debbie doesn't want to get married without him. That's her son. And she clearly wants him beside her for this huge moment. But there's a complication. His boss wants him to work. Now, technically, that's a scheduling problem, but emotionally, Debbie sees it as something much bigger. She's already overwhelmed. She's about to marry a man whose relationship with her family has been complicated. Her friends aren't attending, and now her son may not be there either. So suddenly, the small wedding she's been planning becomes an emotional minefield. And I think the biggest question is, asterisk, asterisk, what does Kaden really think about this marriage? Asterisk, asterisk, because that's the part we don't completely know. Is he genuinely unable to attend because of work? Does he have reservations about Miato? Is he embarrassed by the entire situation? Or does he simply want to stay away from the cameras? There are so many possibilities. And I think that's why this cliffhanger works. Because Debbie has made a very strong statement. Asterisk, asterisk. No Kaden. No wedding. Asterisk, asterisk. But will she actually follow through? That's what I want to know. Because sometimes people make emotional statements in the moment and then reality hits.